Good afternoon. My name is Tim Law. I am a founding member of Ending Clergy Abuse. And I want to thank SNAP for this opportunity and for inviting Ending Clergy Abuse, or ECA. We have something very important in common. Both of us were founded by Barbara Blaine. In fact, our presence here today and this international panel is a celebration of Barbara, whose memory we honor this week on the 3rd year anniversary of her death. The idea for ECA was conceived by Barbara. She brought a group of us to Washington, D.C. in August 2017, and we hashed out the concepts then. And then it was just 1 month later when she died. But of course, her idea did not die, and now ECA is in its 3rd year of existence. And as Barbara envisioned, we are an association of activists and survivors from around the world. We have members from 20 plus countries and 5 continents. And our mission is simple: to compel the Catholic Church, the Vatican, to protect children and vulnerable adults from clergy abuse, and to provide justice to survivors. And we work jointly with all of our members on their local issues, but we also come together at the international level, at the Vatican level. Today, our panel consists of 9 individuals from 8 countries and 5 continents. We have with us Janet Aguti from Uganda, Jeff Buden from Canada, Simone Padovani from Italy, Alberto Lopez from Mexico, Savio Rodriguez from India, Leona Huggins from Canada, and Jean-Marie Ferberger from Switzerland, and Denise Buchanan from Jamaica. So we're going to begin our session here with a short video that Denise has put together. It's a 10-minute video highlighting ECA's work for this past year. And the video will end with a question of what's next. And our panel then will provide some of the answers to that question. So can we cue up the video?
Yeah, it looks like she's going to play the video. Hello, everyone. I'm Denise Buchanan from Jamaica. I am one of the founding board members of ECA, Ending Clergy Abuse. On behalf of my fellow board members, Sarah Oviedo Fierro of Ecuador, Juan Carlos Clare Poole of Chile, Tim Law of the USA, and Simone Padovani of Italy, I'm honored to speak on behalf of ECA, which is now in its 3rd year of fulfilling its mission of ending clergy sexual abuse, its cover-up, and providing justice for survivors. From Argentina to New Zealand, from Poland to Uganda, this year ECA activists were engaged and helped to move us a step closer to a safer, more just world. It now seems so long ago that representatives from ECA, SNAP, and Bishop Accountability were in Rome in February this year when COVID-19 struck Italy. We returned to our respective countries to a new reality. With travel restrictions and lockdowns, we entered a world that for a moment fell silent, providing a space to reflect and perhaps even to rethink our strategies and activism. We all have been challenged by the uncertainties of these times, not knowing the future, but certain that the sexual abuse of children continues unabated, and we must persist in our efforts. ECA is thankful to SNAP for this opportunity to present our message, and thankful too for the times this year we were able to collaborate with SNAP, Bishop Accountability, and other groups. The SNAP conference is also a good time to remember Barbara Blaine and her legacy to the Church, the world, and to survivors of clergy sexual abuse. ECHA would not be, SNAP would not be, the survivor movement would not be what they are today without her. Upon her shoulders we stand, and in her memory we continue to work. It is difficult to summarize in a few minutes our efforts this year and to mention the many individuals and groups who contributed to the success of this past year. So here are a few highlights. We think of Murray Heasley in New Zealand and his successful new podcast, The Reckoning. Attorney Anna Frankowska of Poland, whose Supreme Court case for the first time held the Polish Catholic Church responsible for the abuse of its clergy. ECHA submitted a friend of the court brief in support of Anna. Janet Aguti of Uganda and her Totja platform, educating and providing services for victims of sexual violence. Adalberto Mendez Lopez of Mexico and his work with the Mexican Senate and the United Nations Inter-American Human Rights Commission to promote justice for survivors. Francesco Zanardi of Italy and his foundation Rete l'Abuso, often the only voice documenting clergy abuse in Italy. Pedro Salinas of Peru and his courageous effort to expose the abuse and corruption of Sodalicio de Vita Cristiana in Peru. Evelyn Korkmax of the Cree Nation of Canada, advocating for the Indigenous residential school survivors of Canada. Leona Huggins of Canada for her relentless pressure on Canadian bishops to release the names of abusing clergy, for the release of the files, and for a zero-tolerance law in the Canadian Catholic Church. Gemma Hickey of Canada, co-founder of Advocates for Clergy Trauma Survivors, ACT, and their groundbreaking activism in Canada. Simone Padovani of Italy and the launch of his Photo Voice project and Shutterstock project for all his contributions to ECHA International. Joseph Kennedy of India for his advocacy with journalist Savio Rodriguez and his Hail Mary project. Attorneys Lucas Lacour and Sergio Salinas of Argentina for their historic prosecution and conviction of clergy for abusing deaf survivors and their journey to Geneva and Rome to highlight the Vatican's failure to protect children and provide justice to survivors. Matthias Katsch of Germany and his work with the German bishops to investigate the history of abuse in the Catholic German Church. Attorney Nabia Debasha and the members of La Parole Libérée of France and their historic efforts in the courts of France to seek justice for French survivors and hold clergy accountable. Peter Isley of the USA for his fearless frontline presence before the world press as ECHA's spokesperson whenever he's called upon. For these persons and the many others who are working to end clergy sexual abuse, we thank you. An important means of communication for ECHA members and supporters of the ECHA mission is the use of WhatsApp ECHA Global Justice Project postings. Almost daily, we inform each other with what we are doing in our countries around the world, expressing our opinions and encouraging one another. It is a joy to see messages in all our languages and with the help of Google Translate to keep us connected. If ECHA did nothing else but this forum, we would have a reason to exist. No doubt, the most consequential news from the Vatican on the clergy sex abuse issue this year was Pope Francis announcing in December the abolition of the pontifical secret used in clergy sexual abuse cases. The fanfare with which the Vatican rolled out this announcement rivaled the angels proclaiming the birth of Jesus. The Vatican's leading sex crimes investigator, Archbishop Charles Scicluna, said the reform was an epochal decision, that silence and cover-ups in the church are now a thing of the past. A leading survivor very close to Pope Francis was widely quoted. "The carnival of obscurity is over," declared Juan Carlos Cruz. He's a prominent Chilean survivor of clergy sexual abuse and an advocate for victims. ECA representatives Tim Law, Peter Isley, and myself, along with Argentine lawyers Lucas Licor and Sergio Salinas, and 3 deaf survivors, Daniel Sardelis, Ezekiel Villalonga, and Claudia La Bejerie of the Provolo schools in Argentina, decided to put this good news to the test. In February, we traveled to Rome for the 1-year anniversary of the Pope's Summit on Clergy Abuse. The Argentine survivors were seeking answers to their abuse cases in documents they were told were in the offices of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, the CDF. And they had earlier, by letter and media, requested a public meeting with their fellow Argentine citizen, Pope Francis. On February 21st, we attempted to enter the CDF, but were denied entrance by the police. We then placed a call to Monsignor John Kennedy of the CDF to request a meeting and the files. But unable to speak to him, we left him a voice message. The call has never been returned, nor the files offered. We were, however, contacted about a meeting, surprisingly, from Juan Carlos Cruz. He said a private meeting with a Vatican official could be arranged, but only with the Argentine survivors, not with their lawyers or ECA representatives. Clearly, our presence and requests were known to Vatican officials, even if not Francis himself. But the survivors were adamant that they would not participate in a private meeting without their lawyers or ECA representatives. So disappointed in our response, Juan Carlos said such a meeting was not being offered and there was no further communication. So what's next? In the coming year, ECA will continue to test this epochal decision, perhaps with another visit to the Vatican. In addition, we have made our efforts known and will continue to supplement our case before the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, the Committee on Torture, and the Inter-American Committee on Human Rights. The Vatican's obligation to report to the UN is long overdue. We were told in Geneva in February that the Vatican was preparing to file its report. When it does, it will be met with our documentation. Thank you again, SNAP, for this opportunity to share and for all the work of this weekend's participants. ECA wishes everyone a safe, healthy, and hopeful year ahead.
Thank you, Denise. Very well, very good. So now I want to call upon the panel to help answer that question. What is next? And so I've asked them to briefly mention what each is currently engaged in their countries. And so let's start with, I promised Janet I would start with her because she doesn't know when the baby might wake up here. So Janet, you're up.
Thank you very much, Tim, and good evening to everyone. I really appreciate being part of this meeting. So I'm Aguti Janet, once again from Totia platform. Totia is a local word that means do not be afraid. Why we came up with this name is that most people, when are sexually abused in Uganda, do not have the courage or fear the stigma that is attached to sexual violence in general. Because mostly when you say that you've been sexually abused, definitely people are going to blame you, mostly if you're a lady, and they will attach it to a number of things, for instance, dress code or other things that are unrelated. So Totia platform basically provides an online mobile platform that encourages people to speak up anonymously, and we use a hotline, a WhatsApp line, and an SMS platform where they can reach out to us confident with a lot of confidentiality and anonymously, so that their identity is not given out to the public or to their neighbors or even to us. So they feel a little bit safe to speak up about their violence or their experience, and they get the psychosocial support that they need. Most people in Uganda actually cannot afford legal services, so we help link them to available lawyers that offer pro bono services that are basically free of charge so that they can get the justice that they deserve. In Totia, we believe that everyone has a right to a free, fair, and just life free from sexual violence traumas. So we've been going into communities to do community awareness programs, and the communities we've been targeting mostly were schools and churches. Why we chose the schools is because most schools in Uganda are attached to religion. That means we are still trying to reach out to the religious schools, like the Catholic-based schools, and we spread out these words so that the students do not be afraid to speak up if there is anybody in the religious sector that is trying to abuse them. So that is why we chose to go to the schools. But during the break of COVID-19, all schools were closed and all churches were closed. So we've not been able to move into schools to reach out to these, to spread our awareness programs. We've not been able to reach out to the church communities. But today, luckily enough, the churches were open. So we are going to resume our program that we had started to move into churches and spread the word of people not being afraid to say, even if it's a religious leader or anybody who is an authority in church that is abusing them. To answer the question of what next, we are planning to move and do trainings with local leaders, that is including the religious leaders. We do not want to leave them out because most people in Uganda are either unaware or ignorant, or they do not want to accept that actually the religious leaders are one of the perpetrators of sexual violence to the children and to the vulnerable women. We've had a number of stories, and when we try to reach out to people, mostly the religious leaders who are some of our friends, they try to tell us like, you people are too young. What are you risking? The Catholic Church is so big, they will do whatever they want to end you. But for us, we believe that we can really fight it. So we are not really so much afraid. I might be afraid right now because I have a new baby, but the team that I work with is really so focused, and they told me that they will not give up. So starting from next month, since the churches were open, we are trying to visit as many churches as we can to spread the awareness of how people are being affected and they are silent about it. Thank you very much for listening. Hope to hear conversations from others too.
Thank you very much, Janet. That's an amazing report, and you're a fearless warrior, and we just thank everything that you're doing. Let's see. Next up will be Simone Padovani from Italy.
Hi, everyone. Good evening here. Good afternoon there in America. Good night all over in the other countries. So I'm going to present two projects that now we're going to start after a period that I was busy with the coronavirus here in Italy because of reporting everything and trying to help here. Will be quite quick. These are two kind of projects. I'm a photographer. I'm a founding and board member of ECA, and I developed these two projects. I'm also a community psychologist, so I developed these two projects. One is for helping victims in trying to focalize better solution in the long-term consequences of sexual abuse by clergy. This project is featured by the University of Padua, in which I teach this particular technique of community psychology that is called the photo voice, that is born in the United States in the 90s. That it's a technique that combines photography and community psychology. So through the usage of photography, so participants are going to take pictures about their daily life, trying to show both the sides of long-term consequences in sexual abuse by clergy. Then these pictures are going to be discussed in group to select them and to create different stories. And then all these are going to be also analyzed by University of Padua with a scientific method that we developed for having so data about the long-term consequences on sexual abuse by clergy all over the world. So this is a worldwide project. We know that it will be long, and but we think that it could be very useful also to understand how to give solution or some ways or to deal with the daily demons that normally victims have to deal in every day of their life after the trauma. And this is the one project. It's open to everyone, of course. We're going to work in smart working. So I mean, with call like this with Zoom, and we're going to analyze the picture together. We're going also to have some instruction about how to take pictures and etc. For joining this project, because more we are, of course, more data we are able to collect, and so to validate also the research, but also to create different stories about what it means to be a victim of sexual abuse by clergy. You can contact me or by the website of ECA, of course, at the email of ECA, or there's another, you can direct contact me through the form of ECA, and so we can then have a meeting to discuss better how to proceed and to create the groups in the different countries. We're going to proceed not to all the countries in a parallel way, because it will be a huge work to do all the countries together. So we're starting with some. One, of course, is United States, one it will be Italy, one will be Argentina, then Canada. Then there will be, we have to construct and to build it for New Zealand, and then also for India. Of course, there will be the first part with the first group and then the others. Then the second project, not to be so long, is a project that is born because of my job. And I was thinking that nowadays we have everyone is taking pictures. So everyone got the chance to take good pictures because also of the good resolutions that phones or others can have. So we have created this project that is for helping everyone that wants to contribute to have some sales with the pictures. I mean, I work with some agencies, international agencies, like Getty Images and Shutterstock or Alamy.com. And mainly I was able to create 2 accounts for this in Shutterstock and Alamy.com that are microstock and stock photography. Then of course, who is going to join this project and going to explain better the differences between these things. And in this case, you just have to send the pictures. We then distribute through these agencies. And then if there are sales, of course, everyone is going to receive the money for their sales regarding the pictures that they send to us. So it's a simple project, nothing so difficult or complex. It's just we try to, in some way, give our skills to try to have some funds for some projects or for individual funds and etc. With the fact that nowadays the usage of videos and images is very high, so we can take advantage about this and not just be passive as normally it happens, that we just see images and not produce them and to see this. So we are a global and international group, so we can have variety of images, and so this could be a good chance for contributing in a good way and having some results. I've produced 2 PDFs for these 2 projects that explain deeper both the projects. So then if someone is interested, the first thing, of course, contact from the form of ECA, and then we will send you the form and the projects so you can better understand. And then, of course, we're going to organize meetings, and so we can discuss directly about any questions or others. Thank you very much to everyone, and let's see next time.
Thank you, Simone. Very good. And of course, a lot more information is on our website, ecaglobal.org, about these projects and how to get a hold of Simone. Next up, Jeff Budden from Canada. Jeff?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to thank SNAP and the organizers for inviting me to speak today. It's an honor to speak to such a group. of activists and survivors. My name, as Tim said, is Jeff Budden. I practice law in Newfoundland, Canada, and have for 31 years. And for about 28 of those years, I've represented survivors of abuse in claims for compensation, mostly, but not always, clerical abuse. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about a case that we've been quite busy with now for a number of years. It goes back to an orphanage that was built in my hometown, St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, in 1898. It was built at the request of the local archdiocese, who invited the Christian Brothers of Ireland, a group which many of you have heard of, that have become infamous all over the world for acts of abuse against vulnerable boys. That orphanage was opened in St. John's in 1898 and ultimately closed in 1989 in the wake of a scandal of abuse. I've represented men from that orphanage from 1930, who were there from 1938 until the very end. And the case, however, I'm talking about today was one brought by men who were there in the 50s and 60s. We commenced on their behalf a legal claim against the Christian Brothers, who in this era, the North American province, the Christian Brothers, had run out of New York, and also against the local archdiocese. The Christian Brothers eventually, after 10 years of fighting and dodging and attempting to evade jurisdiction, evade responsibility in every way imaginable, ultimately went into an insolvency in which 450 or so men put in claims from all over North America. Our clients received some compensation from that. However, we continued the action against the archdiocese. We had a 35-day trial in 2016. We lost at the trial, however, we appealed it. And in July, we received notice from our Court of Appeal, a unanimous decision of that court, saying the archdiocese was indeed liable. Our argument was not that the diocese itself had priests in there or brothers in there running the orphanage.
We lost you, Jeff. Let's see. We better, let's move on here. And if he reconnects here, we'll have him finish what he's saying there. Jeff knew Barbara very well. In fact, the three of us traveled to Senegal to visit with survivors there. And Jeff represented one of the survivors. So next up, Savio from India.
Namaste to everyone from India. Thank you, Snap. Thank you, Eka, for giving a voice to the people of India. The Catholic Church is a powerful organization in India. It is also a very respected organization in India. However, while the faith continues to grow strong, the institution has an evil that has crept up not only in India, but across the world. And that is the evil that we are addressing, the evil of sexual abuse, the evil of cover-up of the sexual abuse done by priests, bishops, archbishops, all the way to the top. Kennedy and myself got together several years ago and decided that we need to give a voice to people, a voice to the victims, the vulnerable adults, the children. So we decided to do that in three ways. One is to use the media portal that I have, which is goachronicle.com, which is a global platform, wherein we've taken up issues relating to the cases of sexual abuse in India. And that somehow gets picked up nationally and becomes a national issue, like the Bishop Franco case in India, which is suddenly one of the most talked about cases. The bishop was arrested and then released on bail, but the charge sheet has been filed and he's been named and accused of rape in it, which is for the first time in India. We have other cases that we have been pursuing. So through Goa Chronicle, we use our connect with the national media and bring a prominence to the entire situation. It's not easy because media in India do not want to cover stories related to the Catholic Church. You must understand most of the education and most of the background for most media reporters, journalists come from Christian educational institutes. So it's very difficult for them to actually go about writing or even commenting on sexual abuse. They'll do it for other religions, but they will not do it as far as Christianity is concerned. So we are very cautious, but it's opening up. It's not such a bad scenario. It can get better. The second is through our film, which is Hail Mary. So Hail Mary is a movie which chronicles cases, about 10 cases that we have investigated, and it brings it to life in about an hour and a half of docu-film. And that has been a little stalled because of the COVID, so we could not finish the production that was required to finish it. But hopefully by January till March, we will be able to complete it and have an international release of Hail Mary. And Hail Mary is the first docu-film to come out of India, which basically focuses on the sexual abuse of the Catholic Church in India. So it represents, or it showcases various different cases. The victims are talking about it. We're getting some senior priests to talk about the evil as far as India is concerned. The third is a book that I'm writing, which is releasing in December. This book is co-authored with another colleague of mine called Dr. Nandini. It chronicles the 24-month research we have done on sexual abuse within India. From 2014 to September 2019, there have been 88 cases of sexual abuse that have happened in India, out of which 37 are represented by our priests, bishops, and archbishops, or linked to the Catholic Church in India. So 37 cases from 2014 right up to 2019. That is the basis of the book. It's called A Cracked Mirror. The name of the book is A Cracked Mirror, which is being published by my publishing company, which is what the company that I own. And the idea and the most important thing that we did is we have petitioned the Prime Minister of India. We did that in the month of October. We were to meet with the Prime Minister in February, but that got delayed due to his travels and then due to COVID. I think the scheduled meeting is planned within the next 3 months. The petition to the Prime Minister was to have a dialogue with the Christian denominations in India to set up a prevention detection mechanism at a parish level, just as they have the Vishaka guidelines in India, which is predominantly every corporate workplace or educational institute must set up a committee within an institute to deal with sexual abuse cases. So we've requested the Prime Minister to sit with the leaders of the Catholic denominations in India and to set up a prevention detection mechanism. We're very hopeful that the Prime Minister Modi would give us that audience in the months coming ahead, and it will help us create a lot of work forward as far as the mission is concerned. We face a lot of criticism, we face a lot of hate, but Kennedy and I have a statement that we tell the people who give us that criticism, is that we can absorb your hate. We can absorb the hate that you give us. Can you absorb the truth that we are trying to tell you? Because at the end of the day, we are not against faith. It is the faith within us that makes us fight for the truth that we can see around us. So because we are connected, because we've got that respectability in the current dispensation as far as the government is concerned, we are able to get some of our voices heard, and we will continue to pursue. The fact of the matter is, every victim of sexual abuse, whether it's in India or in any part of the world, is somebody that we need to fight for. The greater sin, more than the sexual abuse, is the cover-up. And that is what the real change must come from within. And I think that's what we need to pursue on. And I'm really grateful that for this opportunity to speak for a few moments. But India is opening up to the evil of sexual abuse. Media is slightly waking up. It's taking them time. But in the months ahead, I think there will be more focus of media on reporting and reportage on sexual abuse within the Catholic Church. And Goa Chronicle, which is our media, will be leading that. And people have always come to us for that. So I believe the government can do something strong. I think the people, the Christians, that's the best part, the Catholics in India. You know, people say, I get a lot of hate mail, Kennedy gets a lot of hate mail, but they never ask us how much of the positive mails we get. And that outnumbers the hate. They might be silent, but people are praying for us that we do the right thing because nobody believes in sexual abuse. Unfortunately, the Catholic Church just doesn't see that bit of it. And that's what we want to do, open their eyes to the truth. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Savio. Wonderful work that you're doing there and very brave. Let's see, Jeff, you were cut off there towards the end of what you're speaking. If you could please finish.
Apologize for that. There seems to be something wrong with my connection. I was cut off at some point. I believe I had spoken of, we were representing a number of men who were at Mount Cashel Orphanage in the 50s and 60s, an orphanage run by the Christian Brothers of Ireland, but at the instigation of our local archdiocese. We brought a action against both the Christian Brothers and the archdiocese after 10 years of obstructive legal moves. The Christian Brothers eventually went bankrupt, and about 450, I believe, almost men from all over North America ultimately received some compensation from that, including our clients. However, we did not believe that compensation to be adequate. So on behalf of 4 individuals who were really representing almost 60, we brought an action, a further action against the archdiocese. I believe I may have lost a connection again. However, I'll continue in case.
Sorry, Jeff, we lost you
Continue
again.
to.
Oh,
Hi.
so continue, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. I will attempt to pick up where I think I left off. We, after many years of obstruction, we ultimately continued against the Christian Brothers of Ireland, or the New York-based corporation, which ran their affairs in North America. And they went into insolvency in 2011. 450 men from across North America who had been abused by Christian Brothers or at their institutions ultimately received some compensation. However, it was not adequate compensation, so we continued our legal action against our archdiocese. 4 test claimants representing at least 60 survivors from that era, all of whom are now elderly, really. We had a 35-day trial in 2016. We lost that. We had a 30-day trial, 35-day trial in 2016. We lost that trial. However, we thought the judge made significant legal errors and went to the Court of Appeal. Just this past month, well, the late July of 2020, we received the Court of Appeal decision, which unanimously held that the archdiocese was indeed liable to our men for the abuse they had suffered at the orphanage. The archdiocese has now announced, just this past Wednesday, they intend to appeal that to the Supreme Court of Canada. We will resist there, and we will continue the fight, and we are optimistic that we will prevail. The legal theory we are operating on, just very briefly, is not that the archdiocese ran the orphanage. They clearly did not. However, our argument was the archdiocese was so involved behind the scenes that the orphanage is really continuing the mission of the archdiocese. The archdiocese retained the ultimate authority over everything from as basic as fundraising for their orphanage, all the way through to the ultimate power of the archbishop to supervise all Catholic missions within his jurisdiction. that argument did prevail at the Court of Appeal, we think it set a significant precedent in Canadian law, and we hope and expect that that will be upheld to the benefit not only of our clients, but of survivors of Catholic clerical abuse right across Canada. Canada has a very progressive regime that recognizes a number of ways of attaching liability to the church that are really only now evolving in other jurisdictions, particularly the legal concept of vicarious liability. So this is one more step forward in that progressive tradition, and we are honored at the opportunity of representing these very brave men who now, some of them are 80 years old, and they continue this battle, and they're not going to give up, and neither are we. Thank you, and I apologize for coming and going on this video feed. I hope you got some sense of what I was trying to say.
Yes, Jess, that was great. Thank you very much. That's really important work, and it will have ramifications all through Canada. So we'll be following that closely. Next up is Alberto from Mexico.
Hello, Tim. Thank you very much. And hi, everyone from Mexico. Well, what we are doing in ECA from Mexico is are two things that we want to highlight. The first one is like since the beginning of this year, I've been working with two Mexican senators to push inside of the Mexican Senate the first independent commission to investigate clergy abuses in the Mexican jurisdiction. Today we have this process to approve the creation of this independent commission to investigate clergy abuses in Mexico. Has been stopped for the COVID situation, but we hope that now that the Mexican Senate just started working again, we will be pushing, for to obtain the approval of this commission that could be the first one in Latin America. So we're pushing for this. We hope that the two senators that have been pushing for this are Mexican Senator Malu Micher. She's a feminist activist in a long time in Mexico and now is working on politics. And Mexican Senator Germán Martínez Cázares, who has been a politician in different ways in Mexico and now is a senator. Both of them are part of the political party who is in the current government in Mexico. So we hope that this proposal could be successful in the next months. And the second one that we have been working from ECA specifically is to bring the first thematic hearing into the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights related with the human rights protection to children in the context of clergy abuse. We've been in conversations since 6 months ago with the Ambassador Joel Hernandez, who is the current president of the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, and also with the former president of Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, Dr. Esmeralda Arosemena. And now she is not anymore the president, but she is member of the commission, and she is now the current special reportership on children's rights in the Inter-American Commission. We've been working on this, I think, like 6 months. And finally, like 1 month ago, we had a really hopeful conversation with the commissioners of the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights. And officially, we submitted last week the thematic hearing petition. We hope, and there are a lot of high expectations with the commissions that we've been working and with other organizations that we've been pushing for this, that maybe into the next month, we are going to have the approval for the first hearing on this issue in the Inter-American Commission. If we obtain the approval of the commission to our thematic hearing, we are going to have the hearing in Washington maybe next year in February, when the next period of hearings before the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights is open. They choose just one of the petitions that the organizations are asking in all around the continent. And we have information that the special reportership, she already promote our petition for the thematic hearing as the most important for the issues of the children that we are that the commission will be discussing in the thematic period hearings next year. if we obtain this, if we obtain the approval of the Commission for this thematic hearing into Inter-American Commission, it will become the first precedent in the Inter-American jurisdiction related with the topic of clergy abuses, specifically on the context of children human rights. So I think this is, if we obtain this and we obtain that this hearing, we are going to push the Commission at least to determine actions in the Inter-American system of human rights related with clergy abuses that the day after tomorrow, that will be standards that activists can start using in the Inter-American jurisdiction to push for the human rights protection of the victims for clergy abuses. Right now, if you analyze Inter-American human rights precedents and the sentences of the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, there is no any case registered in the Inter-American human rights system related with clergy abuses. With this thematic hearing, it will be the first precedent in the Inter-American jurisdiction for victims to start promoting these kind of issues into the Inter-American Commission. So we are working hard for this. We hope we obtain a successful answer from the Inter-American Commission in the next months, and start preparing our thematic hearing for this. And finally,
Wonderful.
at the same time,
Wonderful.
we're just closing my intervention with this. At the same time, from ECA, we are preparing our report, a regional report on clergy abuses in the Americas, that we are going to present in the thematic hearing before the Inter-American Commission. And our idea is to submit this report from ECA to the commissioners to use it for the resolution that they take related with the thematic hearing that we are promoting and pushing for this. So these are the three things that we are pushing from ECA, specifically from Mexico and Ecuador with Sara Oviedo, who I've been working in the report who I'm working with her in the thematic hearing in the Inter-American Commission. So I hope that we are going to have good news in the next months. And that's it. And as Celia Cruz used to say, my English is not very good looking, so my apologies for my English. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alberto. Wonderful work, groundbreaking. Let's see, we have two more. Leona from Canada, Leona Huggins. Oh, you're muted there. There you go.
We're good. I should be better at this right now, shouldn't I? Sorry, thank you to Jeff for his update. But in Canada this year, we formed ACTS Canada, which is an ad hoc group of advocates and activists modeled on the work of ECA Global to create a national voice for survivors. We're proud to have Evelyn Korkmaz as a founding member of, who is a founding member of ECA Global as a co-founder of ACTS Canada. 3 of our members were honored to join ECA in February in Geneva and then Rome on the anniversary of the Papal Summit. In Canada, we're now seeing an increase in class action lawsuits against dioceses with lawyers who we haven't seen working in this area. We believe that these class actions are favorable to the church and have some real concerns. One class action has already been certified in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And there's 2 new applications for certification, one against the Diocese of Quebec and one against the Vancouver Archdiocese. ACTS Canada is currently determining their actions regarding these lawsuits. We may look to have intervener status, at least to narrow the class, which is the one in Vancouver is a really extremely broad class. Right now, as it looks for certification, they are naming anyone who was ever abused in the Vancouver, who ever attended a parish in the Vancouver Archdiocese, which really disempowers survivors. We are fortunate in Canada, as Jeff said, to have progressive laws. Statute of limitations in most provinces is not an issue or a concern, and many dioceses already readily admit vicarious liability, and that was certainly the case in the Rosemary Anderson when diocesan officials were shocked that the lawyer waited till the first day of trial to admit vicarious liability. Evelyn's work to use all legal avenues to fight for residential abuse survivors who many of their claims were settled through these class action processes without the survivors really understanding their role in a class action, how the requirements in Canada are to opt out of these. And many of them were not in a position to let go of their legal rights. And so they were unduly, I believe, and I believe many believe, were unduly compensated for the harms that happened to them. And so I'll keep it that short. And yeah, that's our efforts in the next year for sure. So thank you.
Wonderful, Leona. Great work. Thank you very much. Jean-Marie from Switzerland.
So, thank you for giving me time to say something about what's happened in Switzerland. Our organization here is called SAPEC, and we are celebrating this year 10 years of activity. So we will spend at least one day, all the board together to think for the future. We want also to look what we have been able to do during these 10 years. So after that, we will be more able to say what next. But our main objective was to set up a neutral commission here in Switzerland for hearing survivors or prescribed cases. And this commission was set up, the name is CECAR, for Commission for Hearings, Conciliation, Arbitration and Reparations. So the commission was settled for 5 years in 2016. So they arrived quite at the end of the first period. And they've been able to hear 35 cases. The people who addressed themselves to the commission had received, most of them, compensation, an average amount of 15,000 Swiss francs, so you can compare that to American dollar, have been distributed as a different person. And also they have the opportunity to have access to some archives, to meet with sometimes the author, sometimes the responsible of some order, religious order. Globally, it was said that everybody who participates to these hearings feels that as very important. They see it as very beneficial. But this was done only in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, and we are trying to enlarge that for having also for the German-speaking part, but this will be the future, also the future of this commission. Also, as a product of this hearing, we have two very important moments in which, in the two dioceses where we are active, we have the opportunity to put a plaque where the church asked for forgiveness and recognize what happened. It was very important because it gives us an opportunity to talk with journalists, and it gives really a big opportunity to make those things present to people. So what next? Something we have at short term. We are organizing this time in collaboration with one of the dioceses evenings to talk with the parish group about the clerical sex abuses, and from different point of views. The group will choose what point of view they want to talk about. Could be the point of view of the survivors, it could be the legal point of view, the social, the historical, and we will be organized that next year and perhaps for the years after. We imagine between 10 and 20 times in different regions and different parishes, to make people in the parishes, to make the practicant know our organization and what have been done, and also being able to talk about the different problems related to the sexual abuse within the church. Another things we have in line, and we want to clarify when we have our days of discussion with the board, is to strengthen our role of whistleblower. We know things, people talk with us, and we would like to be able to go back to the dioceses and explain things. We have a first case in 3 weeks, just 50 meters of my home, because the bishop just lived 50 meters of my home. So we will see if this works. But sometimes it's complicated because the church say, well, we take care of things, so don't look too much in our staff, but we will try to be more active in that. Finally, I would like to share with you a personal reflection. It's about a way to establish the historical truth about clerical sexual abuse. In one opportunity here, a survivor asked and obtained that the plaque that was naming the fathers and the brothers to be remembered with honor from one congregation, he have asked that the name of the abuser was retired, and he get it. It was possible. And so the question is what to do with the monuments, the street names, glorifying, sanctifying persons who were authors of sexual abuse or who have covered up such a deed by displacing abusers and shutting up survivors. This is a question I have for a long time, and so I wanted to share it with you tonight. Tonight for me, for you, is for the afternoon. Okay, so thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Jean-Marie. Well, we've come to the end of our time. I scheduled this so that if we all kept to our 3 minutes, we'd have time for questions. But it was great to hear from everybody, and I just wanted to give SNAP World a flavor of the international nature of our group. And thank you everyone for participating. And if there is 2 minutes left, we can handle a couple of questions. Mary Dispenza. Can we unmute Mary?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Mary.
Well, in the United States, we've been working hard on the issue of nun abuse. And I know Barbara Blaine in the early years, along with you, Tim, did some work with some sisters and some girls around sexual abuse. And I wonder somehow if we could, or I could have your help, or at least getting the topic out in other countries, because so many children were abused in boarding schools and in indigenous communities, other countries, and the survivors have no recourse because you can't get the sister's whole name, might just get Sister Teresa or something. And so they're longing for some closure, some justice, just attention, and it's yet to be found. So I'm just reaching out to all of you. I so value your work. I'm just touched by the global problem we're addressing and the impact on so many lives. And again, as women religious, women seem to be the last to be addressed in so many areas of our life. And so I'm asking for your support. You might come up with some ideas or just some way to chip away at that for the sake of survivors and protecting children.
Thank you, Mary. We very definitely would like to work with you on that. And the leaders of that are in India. They're the first ones, the nuns in India are the brave ones coming out, and
Yes.
very, very heartening. So I think our time is up. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Snap. And much work to remain, but we'll keep at it. We'll persevere and with love, and we'll continue.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Thank you.